adopted by the Vatican in any matters of politics or theology, it will be automatically dismissed and disregarded. Furthermore, no bishop in the world will have anymore the authority to initiate any investigation without the prior permission of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, because supposedly the Congregation of the Faith was never, ever, or not enough involved in those cases. I can tell you, having been involved, not in theory, but in person, in the actual act itself, that is nothing short of a lie, not a misconception, not a misrepresentation, a lie. There's never been an apparition case issued as being worthy of belief by a bishop who hasn't first submitted out of the rules of etiquette to the approval of the Congregation of the Dicasterium of the Doctrine of the Faith in the Vatican. An example among many others. Two examples, which are two of the most famous. I'll be very quick, and I'm sorry for being long-winded.
No, pause right there, just so people know, and make sure you remember where you're coming back in. So what Xavier is saying is, in the past, up until this document last month, local bishops could approve apparitions. Then you could also have the Vatican or higher powers also approve. Now they're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, local bishops have no more ability to approve anything. That it has to all go to the Vatican, and the Vatican's gonna at best go, yeah, Neil Obstat, it's nothing objectionable. Am I right? Did I say that right?
You couldn't say it better. It's absolutely perfect.
So they've stripped and silenced bishops. Okay, now finish your point, just so people knew that.
No, you explained it very well, Christine. So now the two examples, for example, we talked about Medjugorje, Mostar. The bishop of Mostar was 1 hair away from condemning Medjugorje. And the sole reason for that was because it was a question of pride. The Franciscans kept protection of the children of Medjugorje. The bishop was in favor since day one of the entire apparition anecdotes of the children. It happened in a communist country. It wouldn't be more Stalinistic than Yugoslavia before it imploded in a variety and confettis of different republics, no? So the children exposed themselves to mortal danger and their families. The message was impeccable, and there was supernatural effect which showed the print of God on the perfection of the theological message. He was in favor. He was very upset. He changed direction, the Bishop of Mostar, when he asked to have the children under his jurisdiction, his control, while taking them away from the Franciscan order, who at the time, in this particular place, the Franciscan order, according to its constitution, does not submit to the jurisdiction of any bishop. So they were independent. And they refused respectfully to the bishop, but they refused because the children wanted to remain with them. Was it an instruction from heaven? I suspect so. So the bishop, out of pride, decided to condemn it and sent a letter, sort of RWA, ready, willing, and able, to condemn Medjugorje, which was received by the prefect of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, who at the time was His Eminence Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, future Pope Benedict XVI. Yeah. When he received the blooming paper, Christine, his first reflex was to take it, put on his hat, his coat, and go straight to the offices of His Holiness Pope John Paul II. He presented the letter, and according to the testimonies I received from my contacts in Rome, Pope John Paul II exploded. He was very upset, for he considered always Medjugorje a response to a personal prayer he did to the Virgin Mary for an apparition of importance to appear somewhere in Eastern Europe. And that for him, that was it. So he refused. That's to show you how non-involved, supposedly, the Vatican was about apparition sites. He did something that was never done before in the history of the Roman Catholic.
John Paul II. He who? John Paul II?
He, John Paul II.
Okay.
It is something that was never, ever done before by the Roman Catholic Church. He took away from the jurisdiction, from the diocese of Mostar, the case of apparition from Medjugorje, and gave it. That was after the revolution, when Yugoslavia was no more. It was a collection of republics. He gave it to under the jurisdiction of all the Episcopal College of all the new republics that used to form Yugoslavia. That has never been done before. And it was an utter humiliation for the Bishop of Mostar. That's the reason that not very few people know.
Yeah,
All this is in my book, by the way. That's in the book. And that's why Father Laurentin defended his children, and that's to show you that the argument used by Cardinal Fernandez is flawed. This showed, frankly, the hand and the influence of the Vatican over an important apparition site. Another one, and I'll stop on this one. There are many, many, many more. But I can tell you another one, the one of Akita in Japan. That one, Father Laurentin did not work on it, which is a shame. I would have loved him to work on it. But in any case, Father, as you know the story, I think I mentioned it to you. Once the bishop was convinced that it was authentic, before declaring it worthy of belief, he took the red eye from Tokyo to Rome to meet and take a rendezvous with Cardinal Ratzinger. Again, he was the prefect at the time. And he brought him all the dossiers, the scientific dossiers of the 101 tears of the Blessed Virgin Mary, tears of a woman that came from a wooden statue of Our Lady of all nations, the stigmata of the blood in her hands, on her feet, the stigmata on Sister Sasagawa, etc., etc., etc. And the message, particularly the last message, which was given on the 56th anniversary of the last apparition of Our Lady of Fatima, the Miracle of the Sun, which you mentioned. It was on October 13th, 1973. 56 years. Yes, 56th anniversary, right?
Yeah.
So there we are. He brought, the Cardinal was receiving and listening to the good bishop, who was very enthusiastic, showing document of the document, but the good German, as we see in France, the good German shepherd was listening to Bishop Ito with a great deal of interest, but showing no emotion. He was perplexed because, like in every true apparition sites, again, not my words, Father Laurentin's, there will be the mediocrity of defamation and calumniation and abandonment. No, every one of them. So all of a sudden, Bishop Ito gave him the last message of Akita, October 13, 1973. At that moment, as Cardinal was reading it, he looked straight in the eyes of Bishop Ito and said, "Bishop, as of right now, there will be no further investigation. There will be no further request or study. The matter will be closed as of this day." But Eminence, you did not let me finish. We have more evidence as to the authenticity. No.
I'm a tired man. I just took the red eye to tell you this.
Exactly.
You gotta listen.
Exactly. Can you imagine
Probably
the
didn't say
frustration?
that though, right?
But he was feeling it. So at the end, the bishop told the cardinal, no, or rather the cardinal said, "No, bishop, you don't understand. As of right now, the congregation of the doctrine of the faith will declare," look how uninvolved is the congregation of the doctrine of the faith. Now, Father Cardinal Fernandez says
Ratzinger.
rubbish.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So he continued and said, "As of this moment, the congregation of the doctrine of the faith will declare Akita and the case of apparition sites through Sister Agnes Sasagawa as being worthy of belief, and the cult will be permitted."
That's right.
The bishop said, "Your Eminence, may God be praised, but before I have a heart attack, do tell me what made you
That's
change
right.
your direction 180 degrees." And he said, "That message you gave me is in fact the echo of the third secret of Fatima."
Yep.
That shows you how much the Vatican, and this in every apparition site. When I was with Father Laurentin, he already had been instrumental in the apparition site of San Nicolas in Argentina, Betania in Venezuela, Kibeho in Rwanda, Soufanieh in Syria. Every single solitary time, the bishops moved upon the directions and approval of the Vatican. So this is the testimony of somebody who has worked in the field at the side of one of the greatest Mariologians that existed in the 20th century. It is my testimony. And the sole purpose of this document, issued by Cardinal Fernandez and co-signed by Pope Francis, is to
tie the hands,
tie the mouth,
silence.
Because the messages in all these apparitions have something old, that have something in common, from La Salette to Fatima, to Marie-Julie Janis, to Berneux Borin, and so on and so forth.
And so many more.
And so many more. It's a call for conversion and correction to the hierarchy of the Catholic Church. It is an inconvenient message which the Church doesn't want to hear anymore. That's the reality of the purpose behind this document issued by Cardinal Fernandez.